G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Star Citizen with Mags, and today we'll be taking a look at one of the more interesting and rare ships of Star Citizen, the Xi'An Apoa Khartu-Al. The Khartu-Al is a light attack and reconnaissance craft developed by the alien race the Xi'An, and due to its unique design, it is one of the most manoeuvrable craft currently available in Star Citizen. In its landed configuration, the Khartu-Al is barely identifiable as a spacecraft. However, after taking off and deploying into full flight mode, the strange landed shape becomes understandable. Now, it's worth noting the HUD that you see starting up here is actually a placeholder. It's shared between the Khartu-Al and all of the current Vandal ships, so every alien ship has that particular HUD startup. The ship's odd design is due to the Xi'An not using a traditional ship configuration of main engine thruster and smaller maneuvering thrusters. Instead, the Khartu-Al features 4 primary engines spaced around the central fuselage. These 4 engines are fitted in special mounts that allow them to rotate freely in all directions. This ability to fire a burst of thrust from the main drive engine in any direction at any time, coupled with its lightweight and centralized center of mass, is why the Khartu-Al is one of, if not the most maneuverable spacecraft in Star Citizen. Now, the cockpit is also interesting in its design, with incredibly large and clear side windows but with 2 prominent metal rails breaking up the cockpit in the forward area, blocking much of the forward view, leaving only a thin area in the centre to line up the weapons on the targets. This too makes sense if you look at the race that actually built it. A quick look at the current artwork we have for the Xi'An race show that it is a reptilian race that, while able to look forward in much the same manner as a human, seem to also have eyes positioned for an extremely wide peripheral view. The current HUD in the Khartu-Al is configured for human usage. However, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the useful ship information was placed closer to the ship's side windows in a full Xi'An spec ship, with the forward windows only being used to line up targets for the weapon systems and general flight and observation being more focused out the sides. Speaking of weapons, the Khartu-Al, according to the fluff, is less well armed than the full military spec Xi'An version. That said, the human configuration is armed with 2 fixed mount size 3 bearing M5A laser cannons. These size 3s are incredible. They honestly feel more like size 4s in terms of damage done, and with the incredible agility and maneuverability of the Khartu-Al, getting these guns on target is relatively low effort. It only takes 1 or 2 hits from these M5A laser cannons to take out military spec ships in both the PU and in Arena Commander. They are incredibly powerful. In terms of defense, the Khartu-Al really does rely on that agility and maneuverability. Its shield can take a few hits if needed, but it's best to keep out of direct fire. The hull, on the other hand, is very delicate, as you would expect from a spacecraft that folds out in this manner. Any hits to the hull at all are going to likely cause critical damage very quickly. That being said, it's relatively difficult to cause the Khartu-Al to lose full maneuvering control. Despite only having 4 thrusters total, the wide range of motion available to those thrusters means that losing 1 or even 2 of them will only reduce the ship's maneuvering capability, rather than removing it entirely. Control issues really don't start to present themselves until the loss of 3 of the control arms, at which point the final remaining control arms simply cannot put enough thrust into the right directions in order to count all possible rotations. However, due to the fragile nature of the craft itself, it's relatively rare to get yourself into such a vulnerable position before the base hull of your ship itself has been destroyed. It is worth noting, however, that it's not just a turner. The Khartu-Al is fast enough that it should be able to outrun anything that it can't outgun, and in fact, according to the fluff, was used to win a number of the racing leagues in the past. So I haven't actually had a chance to test it on the racetrack. However, looking at the speed that it does fly at, as well as its manoeuvrability, I could see it putting in some pretty good lap times around Old Van der Waal. I don't see it laying down track times like the 350R or the M50 of course, but at the very least it should be competitive. As you may have noticed, the Khartu-Al does share some similarities with another ship I've featured here on the channel, the Reliant Core. The Reliant Core was built using a combination of UEE and Xi'An technology and represents the only other example of Xi'An tech we have in game. Currently there are no other designs for a Xi'An spacecraft that I am aware of, despite the UEE and the Xi'An being apparently on pretty good terms, especially good if technology sharing is on the table. Which of course begs the question, is the Khartu-Al a unique or strange design even amongst the Xi'An, or are all fighters, bombers, exploration craft and capital ships built by the Xi'An similar to the Khartu-Al? I personally am very interested in finding out. When I first saw this ship, honestly I had very little interest in it, but after flying it, it's become one of those ships for me that, well, it's a ship that I don't really have any reason to own, but having flown it, I think I have to have one. It's just a really good looking ship, it's got a really interesting design, the weapons on it hit like a truck, and there is nothing in the world funnier than just turning the ship sideways and flying, well really in any direction that you want to fly, as fast as you would in a normal ship moving forward, regardless of what direction your ship is facing. Just dancing around military spec UEE ships like it is nothing is just a fantastic feeling. Anyways, ladies and gents, time to call this one. Thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to drop me a comment in the comment section below and remember to click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you around the verse.